Stitch. The movie from 2003 follows Lilo and Stitch as they confront the consequences of genetic experimentation, explore relational dynamics, and navigate ethical and operational challenges arising from the discovery of Stitch's cousins, a series of experimental alien creatures. The narrative expands on themes of personal responsibility, family bonds, ethical accountability, relational intelligence, and the moral implications of scientific creation. Stitch embodies adaptive problem-solving, relational insight, moral awareness, and operational competence, while Lilo exemplifies empathy, relational intelligence, ethical reflection, and resilience. Together, they demonstrate that effective agency, moral growth, and relational harmony require the integration of cognitive skill, ethical discernment, and relational competence in complex and high-stakes environments. The plot intensifies when Jumba's previous experiments, hidden from the galactic authorities, are activated, resulting in the release of multiple experimental creatures with diverse abilities and unpredictable behaviors. This narrative development introduces operational, ethical, and relational challenges, compelling Lilo, Stitch, and their allies to coordinate strategically, evaluate moral consequences, and navigate interpersonal and interspecies dynamics. The story emphasizes that responsible action and effective problem-solving require harmonizing intellect, moral judgment, and relational awareness, showing that heroism and ethical agency involve considering both immediate outcomes and long-term relational and ethical consequences. Relational dynamics are central to character development and narrative tension. Lilo's relationship with Stitch, characterized by empathy, trust, and mutual growth, serves as the foundation for collaborative problem-solving and ethical decision-making. Stitch's evolving understanding of relational bonds highlights the importance of relational intelligence in guiding ethical and operational behavior. The interactions among Lilo, Stitch, and other characters, including family and alien allies, underscore the necessity of communication, trust, negotiation, and collaboration in navigating complex, high-stakes scenarios. The narrative illustrates that relational competence enhances moral reasoning, strategic action, and personal growth, demonstrating the interconnectedness of ethical, cognitive, and relational dimensions. Antagonistic forces in the story arise from both the experimental creatures themselves, whose behaviors challenge operational control, and from external authorities, such as Gantu, who enforce moral and legal accountability in high-stakes situations. These antagonists embody the ethical, operational, and relational threats that demand strategic thinking, adaptive problem-solving, and moral discernment. The contrast between the protagonist's relationally informed ethical growth and the antagonist's rigid or self-serving approaches highlights that effective heroism involves integrating cognitive, ethical, and relational capacities to manage both systemic and individual challenges. Action, strategy, and operational sequences, including containment efforts, creature rescues, and confrontations with antagonists, blend problem-solving, ethical reasoning, and relational coordination. Lilo and Stitch demonstrate the integration of skill, morality, and relational intelligence in high-stakes, dynamically complex environments. These sequences reinforce the narrative's emphasis on courage, adaptability, ethical judgment, and interpersonal competence as essential elements of effective heroism, relational management, and personal growth. The story underscores that strategic intelligence must be complemented by moral reflection and relational sensitivity to achieve meaningful and sustainable outcomes. Psychological and ethical dimensions are explored through Stitch's evolution from an unpredictable, destructive experiment to a relationally aware and ethically guided figure, illustrating the impact of empathy, relational guidance, and moral accountability. Lilo's moral framework and relational insight guide Stitch's transformation, highlighting the role of mentorship, ethical modeling, and relational trust in cultivating adaptive moral behavior. The narrative demonstrates that personal and relational development are inseparable from ethical reflection and cognitive skill, emphasizing that heroism and responsible agency require the integration of thought, morality, and relational engagement. Themes of empowerment, relational trust, ethical responsibility, personal growth, and family bonds are central to the story. Stitch's and Lilo's evolving partnership exemplifies the transformative potential of relational intelligence, moral reflection, and adaptive problem-solving. The discovery and management of Jumba's other experiments reinforce the significance of accountability, strategic coordination, and relational oversight in achieving operational and ethical goals. The narrative emphasizes that heroism, relational competence, and moral development are not solely functions of individual skill or power, but arise from the capacity to act ethically, maintain relational harmony, and navigate complex, dynamic environments with awareness and adaptability. The climax integrates cognitive, ethical, and relational threads as Lilo and Stitch confront the threats posed by the newly activated experiments and Gantu, restoring order and safeguarding both their family and the experimental creatures. Resolution requires strategic foresight, ethical discernment, relational coordination, and adaptive problem-solving, demonstrating that multidimensional heroism emerges from harmonizing intellect, morality, and relational competence. The narrative concludes with a synthesis of courage, relational awareness, ethical clarity, and personal growth, showing that effective agency involves balancing individual skill, moral responsibility, and relational engagement to achieve meaningful, enduring outcomes. Cinematography, visual design, and musical composition enhance narrative immersion, thematic depth, and emotional resonance. Expressive character animation, imaginative alien environments, and dynamic action sequences are rendered with clarity and creativity, while musical scoring emphasizes emotional, relational, and ethical stakes. Technical execution supports narrative and thematic exploration, ensuring that visual and auditory spectacle complements cognitive, ethical, and relational dimensions rather than serving solely as entertainment. The integration of visual, auditory, and narrative elements underscores the multidimensional nature of heroism, ethical agency, and relational intelligence. Ultimately, Stitch, the movie presents a narrative in which cognitive skill, ethical reasoning, relational intelligence, and adaptive action converge within morally, operationally, and relationally complex environments. The film emphasizes that mastery, heroism, and responsible agency arise from integrating intellect, moral clarity, emotional insight, and relational coordination. By blending action, ethical inquiry, psychological exploration, and relational complexity, Stitch, the movie reinforces the appeal of protagonists who harmonize skill, morality, and relational awareness to navigate high-stakes, multifaceted, and morally nuanced scenarios, illustrating that true heroism requires the alignment of personal growth, ethical responsibility, and relational competence in transformative and socially complex contexts.